Don't get me wrong.
In 2022, it was around March. I was walking my dog. It was not quite dark yet, but the sun was setting. As I'm walking my dog, I see these two guys they were just kind of like moving around weirdly. You know, they seemed kind of manic and their clothes were tattered. So I knew that they were probably homeless. And I also knew that they're probably on something just based on like the twitchy way they were acting. But living in LA, I mean, there's homeless people everywhere, right? So I've never had problems. I didn't think anything of it. But as I was bending down to pick up my dog's mess, one of the guys like grabs me by my hips and he had an erection.
Oh God.
And just starts like humping me. And I didn't know what to do. Like I was terrified. I didn't have a weapon on me.
Yep.
Like I had no way of defending myself. I didn't know how far it was going to go because it's two guys. I'm by myself with my little dog. It was one of the most terrifying things ever because I'm pretty good at defending myself. In that moment, I just knew there was no option.
No way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And luckily, he stopped and they just laughed at me and walked away as they were laughing at me. And so there was the fear and then the humiliation and weirdly shame. Like I felt ashamed for some reason. And it was awful. And it was really taking a toll on my mental health because I have to walk my dog, right? So at least 2 or 3 times a day, I'm going outside kind of scared. And so I opened up about this on the show, not really thinking much of it. And before I know it, I'm starting to get these messages and it's like really, really harsh stuff. And it's about how you are painting a picture of the homeless community. You know, how could you be like this? You know, these are your unhoused neighbors and they need help. A few people accused me of being racist when I had never disclosed the race of the individuals who did this to me. And in fact, they were white.
I mean, officially that would make them racist because whenever I talk about homeless, I'm not talking about brown or black people.
And so like when they started accusing me of being racist, I'm like, wait a minute. Why are you assuming that the people who did
Well,
this?
of course.
Yeah, like I think you might have a problem here.
Exactly.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
that woke me up. That woke me up because I'm like, oh my God.
They eat their
The interesting point about this clip is the fact that the consequence didn't change her mind. The fact is she just wanted to talk about the consequence. Her own party attacked her in such a way that she was disgusted because she's afraid to go on the street and they're telling her she's racist with their racist analogy.
Toby be good nigga for massa. Don't send Toby away. Toby be good for your hand, boss.
You can stay here.
Toby stay. Toby stay. Toby be good now. Toby be real good.
It's not only the black man.
The incidents were limited to a handful of apartment complexes, and the mayor said our dedicated police officers have acted on those concerns. A handful of problems.
Only, Martha, do you hear yourself? Only a handful of apartment complexes in America were taken over by Venezuelan gangs, and Donald Trump is the problem and not Kamala Harris's open border. Americans are so fed up with what's going on, and they have every right to be. And I really find this exchange, Martha, sort of interesting because you seem to be more focused with nitpicking everything that Donald Trump has said rather than acknowledging that apartment complexes in the United States of America are being taken over by violent gangs. I worry so much more about that problem than anything else here. We've got to get American communities in a safe space again. And unfortunately, when you let people in by the millions, most of whom are unvetted, most of whom you don't know who they really are, you're going to have problems like this. Kamala Harris, 94 executive orders that undid Donald Trump's successful border policies. We knew this stuff would happen. They bragged about opening the border, and now we have the consequences, and we're living with it. We can do so much better, but frankly, we're not going to do better, Martha, unless Donald Trump calls this stuff out. I'm glad that he did.
Only a handful of Venezuelans are doing this. We can agree with that. But if they did a misogyny, would you also say only a handful of men is doing misogyny? I don't think so.
reason that there is a housing crisis is that not enough houses have been built.
And that we have 25 million people who shouldn't be here.
Well, I mean, this is the thing.
I think it's both.
I know you do. I don't think that many people who look into this agree with you, but about a third of the construction workforce in this country is Hispanic. Of those, a large portion are undocumented. So how do you propose to build all the housing necessary that we need in this country by removing all the people who are working in construction?
Well, I think it's a fair question because we know that back in the 1960s when we had very low levels of illegal immigration, Americans didn't buy houses, didn't build houses. But of course they did.
Just to get their attention that, hey, the point that you just made no sense.
Being sarcastic, of course, in service of a point, Lulu, the assumption that because a large number of home builders now are using undocumented labor, that's the only way to build homes. I think, again,
the country is much bigger.
Fundamental.
The need is much bigger. I mean, I'm not arguing in favor of illegal immigration. I'm asking how you would deal with the knock-on effect of your proposal to remove millions of people who work in a critical part of the economy.
Well, I think that what you would do is you would take, let's say, for example, the 7 million prime age men who have dropped out of the labor force, and you have a smaller number of women, but still millions of women prime age who have dropped out of the labor force. You absolutely could re-engage folks into the American labor market. This is, I think,
to work in construction?
Of course you could.
I mean, the unemployment rate is 4.1%. Most people who
unemployment rate, Lulu, this is important.
But most people who don't work can't work in the regular economy. They're in the military. They're parents. They're sick. They're old. They might not want to work in construction.
Maybe you fire them. Maybe you don't hire them. Maybe they want you to pay them a decent wage, but other people are doing it for a lower wage. And they're like, hey, I don't want to do that. So I want to try something new, but there's no job. I need to go to the university or the college. Hey, man, I need to get a loan. I don't want to get a loan.
Help me.
Unemployment rate is
old. They might not want to work in construction.
The unemployment rate does not count labor force participation dropouts. And again, this is one of the really deranged things that I think illegal immigration does to our society is it gets us in a mindset of saying we can only build houses with illegal immigrants when we have 7 million, just men, not even women, just men who have completely dropped out of the labor force. People say, well, Americans won't do those jobs. Americans won't do those jobs for below the table wages. They won't do those jobs for non-living wages. But people will do those jobs. They will just do those jobs at certain wages. And think about this perspective of an American company, okay? I want them to go searching in their own country for their own citizens. Sometimes people who may be struggling with addiction or trauma, get them re-engaged in American society. We cannot have an entire American business community that is giving up on American workers and then importing millions of illegal laborers. That is what we have thanks to Kamala Harris's border policies. I think it's one of the biggest drivers of inequality. It's one of the biggest reasons why we have millions of people who have dropped out of the labor force. Why try to re-engage an American citizen in a good job if you can just import somebody from Central America who's going to work under the table for poverty wages? It is a disgrace, and it has led to the evisceration of the American middle class.
I do know for a fact right now in Spain, if they catch you paying somebody like that, they will fine you big time, like big time, if you do that at any company.
Immigrants from Haiti had hoped to build a better future, but from the moment they arrived, they said promises of a decent place to stay temporarily fell by the wayside. They asked not to be identified and spoke through an interpreter.
When I got here, it was really late the day, and they put us in a room with 7 or 8 people. It was only one bed.
Before we continue, I won't make any eye jokes today because people think it's very bad from a YouTube video to make eye jokes. So prove them wrong by liking the video.
The immigrants said they first heard about what was supposed to be the promise of good jobs and good living on a TikTok post. The union says there are hundreds of immigrants from both Haiti and West Africa being treated unfairly at the plant.
Whenever I have my hand swelling or I have any kind of medical conditions on my hand and I'm not able to work, supervisor and management are giving me a lot of pressure to work.
And they said there was a lot of pressure to work quickly.
We're supposed to get a better living condition.
I bet they're going to say that it's only a handful of people. I mean, not all of them are suffering in this condition.
Arrived, they said promises.
It was a rough week. I mean, her faves are down. They're struggling with, I mean, the front page of the New York Times this morning, Democrats struggling with African-American voters, particularly African-American men. This gender gap issue is real. It's a real problem, and you see the Democrats reacting to it. And I think what they are now finally in October of the election coming to realize is that a lot of men think Democrats care more about dudes who want to become women than dudes who just want to be dudes. And no hunting, cosplay, or cringy videos is going to change it. The bet is made. Working class men, whether you're black, Hispanic, or white, persistently, consistently do not believe the Democratic Party, and specifically Kamala Harris, are going to do a thing for them. They've been told that they're the problem, and I suspect they're going to rise up on Election Day and tell the elites who told them that you're wrong.
I still can't believe CNN Les Jennings comes on their panel. He consistently shreds them. Their viewers are seeing it, and he is providing social media with a plethora of viral clips. Thank you for my YouTube videos. Guy is red-pilling the machine. That's true.
It's weird because, you know, it's supposed to be the will of the people. It's supposed to be the government works for the people. And it's not that. It's some very bizarre, enormous amount of money that's being spent to make sure that the people in power continue to run things the exact same way. That's what I think they're really terrified about Trump. It's not necessarily even that he's a Republican. It's much more that he's a guy that is not going to play the game.
Yeah.
And that when he gets in there, he's going to, like, one of the things that he's talked about is having Elon come in and do some sort of a government efficiency agency. They're terrified of that.
Yeah.
Because it's not efficient.
Yeah.
You know? And he's going to come in with like that Tesla mindset. It's like you're working 16 hours a day and you're sleeping on the fucking couch.
Yeah.
We're here to get some shit done. And you try applying that to government. That's, you know.
Yeah, he shaved, what did he shave, like 80% of the staff off Twitter?
Oh, yeah.
When he got it?
Yeah, he was like, what the fuck are you people doing? Why do you have so many people working here doing nothing?
Yeah.
And he was right.
Yeah.
He was right, especially if you don't want to censor people. Like, it's interesting how people react to it, that he's ruined Twitter, he's destroyed Twitter. No, you could still block these crazy people if you want. You could still not see them if you want.
Yeah.
But what he's allowed is everyone to talk. Everyone.
Yeah.
And if you don't think that that's good, you're very short-sighted. And you don't understand human beings. Like, you cannot have human beings censored because someone is going to be in power and they're going to take advantage of that censorship. They're not different than us. They're not these incredibly benevolent beings who just want everything to work out well. No, they're people.
Yeah.
And a lot of them are dirty people. Dirty, corrupt people that went to Diddy parties.
It's that control what they say, control what they think.
A government job shouldn't feel like an easy job. You should get anxiety because I'm trusting you with way more money that I should be able to trust a person that wants me to trust them too much. But I think what they don't realize is the checking is actually pushing them away from the party.
Kamala chose a white husband. Why can't black men choose a white president?
Kamala only?
Don't get me wrong, makosa kita bong. Put the fire na mi blonde kush hash purple skunk criollo colombici jam jam. Dur loqueta verdeta welcome.